Hello and welcome to tutorial 191, and a GoldPass member asked me, how would you go about creating a panel of information on a chart, a minute chart, but using daily data? And the panel of information was to include the name of the symbol, the price of that symbol, the volume, daily volume of that symbol, and the RSI. And you can see here that I have an example. I've got a 5-minute E-mini chart, and I've got information about the E-mini itself, the SPY at BP, at NQ and Amazon, and you can see that that is updating in real time, and that is information about daily charts. For each symbol I've opened up a daily chart and applied an RSI. So for example, if we look at this one, we'll see that for BP the RSI is 56.51, and it is here as well, and you could also check the daily volume and price. So let me just go through and show you how I've gone about this. We're using a PSP, and that PSP is set up once in our program. You'll see we've got a once statement, then we've got the PSP. Now the way I've done that, as always, is just to go into Toolbox and find the price series provider, double click on that, and then using the price series provider you can put in various changes to the information. Having done that, you can then go, so view designer generated code, you can go to the designer generated code and copy that into your program. We're not going to do that because that is something that I've already done, but that's how I went about it. So I'm just going to delete that from the component tray, and you'll see that we've got an update and a state changed events. We're setting symbol to be SYMB, and that is something that is going to contain the name of the symbol. I should just mention that actually, even though I'm showing 5 lines here, what I've actually done is applied the program 5 times. So if we go to the studies and say edit studies, you'll see that we've got the program applied 5 times. I think that was the easiest, quickest way of going about creating this, and you could put those programs into a group as well, so you don't need to continually apply them 5 times. Okay, so that is the price series provider, and you can see some of the settings here. We're using the range bars to be RSI length times 20 plus 1. Now that RSI length, that is the length of the RSI that we're going to calculate. You can see here that's an input. Currently got it set at 14. Let's just have a look at the inputs while we're here. So if we go to the studies and just choose one of those reapplied studies, and you'll see in this case I've got the symbol is at NQ, the RSI length 14, the color light gray, then the typeface. So this for you would potentially be something different like Arial or Courier, the font size, and the vertical position. Now the way this works is because if we just were to apply them with the standard inputs, they would just overlay each other. So what I've done is created this thing, virtual position. So the vert position of the NQ I've set at 6. If we were to look at another one, for example the Amazon, you'll see the vertical position of that I've set at 8. And the way that that's calculated in the program, go down to the very end of the program, you'll see that we have a section here. And what I've done is I divide the difference between the highest display value and the lowest display value by 50, and then the vertical position is used as a numerator of that. So we have the vertical position divided by a 50th of the difference between high and low, and that is then subtracted from the highest display value on the chart. Okay, so we've looked at the PSP setup. Let's just look at the method. So we have a method to create the label. So essentially that, as I've called it, a panel of information, is just one label. That label is created in this method, and that's just using the text label create. And again, if you were to go to Toolbox and double click on text label, you would see the various syntaxes required for that. Now, when I created the PSP, I set up an update event and a state changed event. We'll look at the update event in a moment, but what we're going to be doing is updating the value of the RSI in the update event. The state changed event I'm just using for informational purposes. So how do we calculate the RSI? Well, the first thing we do, we go through the PSP, and for all the historic bars, we do the calculation starting a certain number of bars ago and moving forwards. And we do that for everything apart from the very last bar. Well, I say that there is a case when we do use the last bar in the PSP, and that is when the date of the last bar is not the current date. So for example, if we were doing this at the weekend and the Amazon symbol was not charting, what we'd have is Friday's date most probably on the chart, but actually it's now Sunday or Monday very early. So in that case, we do want to use that last value in the PSP, but for the others, we just do it for all the bars apart from the most recent. And the reason we're going backwards is the RSI is an accumulative calculation, and what we need to do is start historically and move forward. And the way that does it on a normal chart is it calculates for the oldest bar and then uses the value of that in the for the next bar and so on, moving forward. And what I did is, if you just open up the RSI, the TradeStation RSI, you can see the calculation there, and I've just converted it to use the PSP close rather than the close of the symbol. And then when we've done that, we set a value here to be true. So init calc is true. In other words, we're not going to do this calculation again. But when we have the PSP updating, which is just here, we then calculate the updated value for the bar that's developing at the moment. And so each time that bar is updated, then we just calculate for the last bar on the chart, that last little piece in the jigsaw puzzle, to give us the most up-to-date value of the RSI. And having done that, we then set up our string once again. Now here I'm using composite formatting, and the way this works is you put in quotes your text, but then you have the opportunity to put in squiggly brackets the values that you're going to include in the string. So 0, 1, 2, 3, and they refer to the values after the quotes. So simb would be put in place of the 0, PSP close would be put in place of the 1, PSP volume in place of the 2, and the PSP RSI in the place of the 3. And there are some formatting options that are available. So the best way of finding out about that, I think if you were to search on composite formatting, you'll see composite formatting, and you can see all the syntax and when it might be used. Oh, and then the final piece of the jigsaw puzzle is we need to make sure that the string stays in the same place. And the way that I've chosen to do that is just to find out if the display values, if the right display date time has changed, or the price. And if that is the case, then we go through and we update the position of the label. And I already mentioned how we do the position in terms of vertical position. So I think that is everything. If I've missed anything, or if you spot any bugs, then please let me know. If you're interested in TradeStation EasyLanguage, then please go to markplex.com to join the email list, and also subscribe to wherever you're watching this video. Thank you very much.